Welcome back to Chronicle Live. Ray Rado's joined us by the coffee table. Monty Poole is here. We brought in a longtime NFL agent, Steve Baker, from the Baker Sports Management Group. How are you, Bake?
Doing great.
What is your position? Now, Mr. Rosenhaus wants to start the new league year. You being an agent, do you want your guys to be free agent? And let's get going. Let's trade and sign and get everything going?
I believe that the lockout violates the antitrust laws and that the lockout should be enjoined.
All right. What did you tell your players today? Because I know there was chaos throughout the NFL about whether to go back to the facility, and teams didn't quite know how to greet their players back. When your players called you today, what advice did you give them?
I told them to keep their bags packed and be ready. I actually have one client who's actually down working out with most of his team in Miami right now. But I told the players that something probably wouldn't be resolved for several days. I think we have to see what the district court's going to say, and if the district court keeps the injunction in place, what the Eighth Circuit says.
All right, this concept of the workout bonuses, a lot of the players, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, the fine young left tackle, the Jets, has a clause that pays him $750,000 for workout bonuses, but this is tied to the organized team activities. Now, by merely having the lockout lifted temporarily, we'll say, today, and we'll see how it proceeds the next couple of days. I mean, this is not going to get DeBrickashaw Ferguson his $750,000 workout bonus by showing up at the Jets facility today. So what were the players concerned about? Why did they have to show up today to work out in places where they did not want them to work out today?
I think it's more a case of preserving your rights. I mean, if I had a $1 million bonus waiting for working out, I guess I wouldn't put anything to chance that I'd be there. A lot of it's depending on the language, but, for example, some players have a workout bonus. Some have a bonus that requires them to be there 80% of the time. Other bonuses have other requirements, so it would depend on the individual player's terms.
All right, the national media is kind of playing this as though the owners are a bit surprised by the ruling that came down yesterday by U.S. District Judge Susan Richard Nelson. You're of the opinion the NFL has been preparing for this very important time since 2006 and more recently when they opted out. And now we're really going to find out if they're going to be able to get their meaningful change between now and probably July, right?
No, I think we're in the third inning of a 9-inning game. I mean, not to say it's a game. I think it's unfortunate. But I think the NFL basically 3 years ago strategized that they were going to try to change the terms of the agreement. They realized that the players would probably try to pursue their antitrust rights. They probably expected that at the district court level, where the players have had good success, that the players had a good chance of winning. And their hope was to get it to the Eighth Circuit, which is much more conservative, and hope they get a decision that helps them more.
My question is this. Now that we've had this judge's ruling, all of the work, all the preparation that the NFL has done up to this moment, doesn't she sort of slap that away a little bit with her ruling?
I mean, I think the NFL can't possibly be happy with what the ruling was,
yeah.
but the NFL has some pretty smart lawyers, and
right.
The fact of the matter is that the district court in Minnesota has been very favorable to the players to player issues over the last 20 years. So it would be close to malpractice on the part of the NFL lawyers, which I don't think they're committing if they didn't think that there was a reasonable chance of a decision coming against them.
Yeah. All right, tomorrow we got a couple of deadlines: 10 a.m. our time, or 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Our time, and then later in the afternoon a 6 p.m. deadline, Ray, and a 3 p.m. our time. The first one, the players are going to be asked to reply to the league's expedited motion for a stay. So what is the first deadline? The players and DeMaurice Smith have to make their case why the stay, why the lockout should be lifted.
The players will argue that the judge should keep the injunction in place.
The injunction in place, right.
The NFL will try to get the injunction stayed, and if they're unsuccessful in getting it stayed, David Boies, the attorney for the NFL, has already been on record that they already have papers ready to be filed with the Eighth Circuit to ask for an expedited appeal on that issue.
So what is our time frame, do you think, Ray, before things start to get moving where we may have some resolution, at least in the short term?
I think the drop-dead day is the day that the players win in court and get to see the owner's books, because that's the day that the owners go, no, we can't do that, and that's the day they cave. Before that, I don't know that there is a drop-dead day, because the owners keep trying to basically push the hardball line, and so far they haven't been very successful with it. If they don't get around the Eighth Circuit, I think they're going to have to start thinking of a fallback strategy. And whether it impacts training camp or not, I don't think is as important to the owners as it is to the players. They're willing to lose some training camp time so that they can see just how far they can push this before they have to cave.
All right, so can the business of the league proceed now until the Eighth Circuit gives us a ruling, which would probably be what, in sometime in July, mid or late July?
Well, the issue on the injunction would be the next few days. But if that's not resolved, we might not have a decision until the summer.
Could the business of the league, the way it was done more than 20 years ago, when this first was done by Gene Upshaw, he sued antitrust back in the late 80s. They got free agency later in 92. While they were suing each other big, the business of the league continued for a 4-year period. So can the business of the league, can we have trades and free agency commence sometime after the NFL draft this weekend?
Well, without question, the business of the league could proceed. The owners don't want that to happen. I mean, the owner's strategy has been that they don't want to be paying the players while the players are suing them. They can proceed with business, but they risk antitrust liability because any system they implement would arguably violate the antitrust laws, as happened back in the 90s when a decision came down finding treble damages.
You know, when I hear these stories about what the owners want and what the players want, I keep going back to Al Davis and thinking to myself, if he were as active now as he was before, if he were as involved as he has been in the past, we could cut through a lot of this stuff because he saw things that a lot of the other owners didn't see. Am I wrong on thinking that?
I think you're right. Well, Al Davis had a very special relationship with Gene Upshaw.
Well, that helped, yes.
And Gene Upshaw's special relationship is partly what prevented this from happening over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to interrupt, but also the league's ownership was not as hard line about this. Al, I'm not sure if this was the 60-year-old Al, that he would be the same kind of player in this atmosphere that he was 20 years ago. This has become a hardline owners league. Jerry Richardson has a lot more juice now than I think Al had 20 years ago because they want to pick this fight. And they've been picking it for 3 years.
Right.
Now they're in the middle of it, and so far they're getting their hats handed to them. And they're trying to grope around not only either for the win that looks even more elusive than it did a week ago, or a fallback position that doesn't make them look ridiculous. Al was not a hardline guy. Al was a pragmatist. This is not a pragmatist issue. This is a we eat you or you eat us issue.
All right, up until last night, we kind of thought maybe we'd lose a portion of the year, certainly maybe the preseason, maybe a couple of games. In light of the way this is going down now, it seems like this will be solved to some degree, one way or the other, by late July, so we should not miss any games, Big?
I think there'll be a 2011 season. I think if the lockout is enjoined, without question, there'll be a season. If the lockout is not enjoined, I think it could go into the season. I think, as Ray just said, I think the owners have made the decision that this is the moment to draw a line in the sand. I look at the world, and the NFL sees huge additional incomes coming in this new world that we're in, where Facebook is generating $9 billion. I think they see that the revenue pie is going to grow hugely, and I think the owners have sat back and said, this is the moment to get a different deal.
All right, we'll know more in the next 24, 48 hours, certainly. Beg, thank you so much for your time on Chronicle Live. Monty's shaking his head.
I mean, the greed
Greg, you're not going to Napa. Give that up.
Greed is
that
good.
dream is over.
Training camp will start precisely in late July. All right, Beg, thank you.